We are back, Coach's Corner East, from the Pizza Hut in Galleon, September 1st, Wednesday. We are done with August and we're heading to fall, and the temperatures certainly feel like that. We're heading into week 3 of the high school football season here in Ohio as well. We are brought to you in part by Steve and Chuck Keller at Keller Auto Parts, your Napa dealer, Uptown, Galleon, and Crestline. Marie Mounts at the Platinum Insurance Agency, your progressive agent, 131 Harding Way East, Uptown, Galleon. Joe Kleiman Associates, the Galleon office of First Federal Bank of Ohio. I welcome to the microphone, it's Johnny King, head football coach at Crestline High School. Coach King, great to see you again. How are you?
Doing all right. Thanks for having us out, Mike.
Absolutely. And week 2 did not get the result that you were hoping for. Had a nice shot week 1 with Buckeye Central, put up some points, but things kind of got a little bit out of hand after a long drive up to North Baltimore. They were up 12-0 after the first quarter, but by half it was 40-0 and then 54-0 after 3 quarters. What happened primarily in that second quarter that the wheels kind of came off, so to speak?
Yeah, well, we started off poorly with giving up a touchdown on the opening kickoff, and then a couple of offensive mistakes early on, and gave another opportunity. Settled down and played a little bit better through the end of the first quarter, and then we had some kids out there that were playing their first football game, some of them ever, as we were acclimating some new kids and getting them rolled in week 2. And we just didn't play very fundamental football, and that was, North Baltimore, credit to them. They've got some good athletes in the heavy senior class, and they certainly played to their strength. Their coaching staff did a nice job of taking advantage of some of the things that we were doing, just because we were kind of limited in what we could or couldn't do. It was just at some point the contest kind of is already decided in the books. It just becomes a matter of now challenging our kids on whether or not they're going to use that opportunity to get better or not. And so it was a growing experience for some of our young guys. Our offensive and defensive lines have certainly been challenged the first couple of weeks, and that's not going to change the remainder of this season. We're just young and have a lot of growth in not just those areas, but as a former offensive lineman myself, that's certainly what I noticed right away. So, we've challenged them quite a bit, and I expect to see them stepping up and starting to show improvement these next several weeks.
Most coaches that I've talked to have pretty much said you get a lot of improvement from week 1 to week 2. And if you look at it just on paper, one could argue there was an improvement, there was regression. But as a coach, what did you see as improvement from that unit, both sides of the ball, from week 1 to week 2?
Yeah, well, and honestly, with the addition of some of the guys that we got week 2, it kind of felt like week 1 all over again for a lot of guys. We were trying to kind of scale things back in order to help kids get caught up and learn what we were doing. And we went into it as a coaching staff just kind of knowing that we're a little bit limited in what we could do. There are some things that we would have liked to, but we just weren't prepared to with the preparation that we had and getting kids trying to get them caught up to speed. So, I'm sure we'll talk about in a second here about not playing this week, but it does give us that opportunity to really kind of try to get everyone on the same page and get kids coached up and be able to take that step that you're talking about, because I do think the potential is there on this team to be competitive and to put ourselves in a position to win games as we move forward this season. We've just got a lot of guys that haven't played a lot of football and don't understand, don't have a football mindset, and so there's just a lot of teaching going on right now.
Yeah, well, and that's what we talk about. School-based sports is an extension of the classroom, and no more evident than what you have going on right now. Some of those kids that the freshmen that got their first taste of varsity experience against Buckeye Central, did you see maybe in their eyes or just the way that they reacted that maybe they were starting to relax and maybe it was slowing down just a bit for them here in week 2? Or still not there yet?
Yeah, still some growth to go. It's and again, credit to North Baltimore. They had some pretty talented skill positions, and it was they're going to have, I think, some success this year in the BBC conference. And, they're still quite a bit growing. And, it just when you're playing this small school football and you got these expectations for these kids that you're rolling out there to go play varsity snaps against seniors on the other side, and they're doing things that I was never asked to do in high school, and,
Sure.
because we got the opportunity to go through that progression and to play against kids that were my size and my age, and learn how to compete and win, and we just don't have that luxury. So we're doing our best to be positive with our guys and to continue to encourage them and coach them, and we're never giving up on a kid. Because those are the only guys that we've got, and so we double down on them, and we still have high expectations for them, and you can't use that as an excuse that you're a freshman, so don't worry about that. It's okay, they got you on this one, so what do we got to do better, and let's get that fixed.
Yeah, very good. Take a break here before we talk to the players around the table. We're brought to you in part by the Burkhardt family at the Burkhardt Farm Center, your Case IH dealer, straight west of Galleon on the Manette New Winchester Road. Mike Kleinite at Ag Credit Residential Lending, Bucyrus, Mount Gilead, and Marion. And Sweet Baby Ray Jones at Ohio Door and Sash, 120 South Street in Galleon. First up tonight, junior quarterback Trever Shade. Hi, Trevor. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Even though it hasn't shown in wins and losses, even though it hasn't shown necessarily on the positive side of the scoreboard, how has your play at quarterback progressed from week 1 to week 2?
It has progressed since week 1 in our scrimmage, but I'm trusting my receivers a lot more. They're getting more comfortable running the routes, and I'm more comfortable putting the ball out there for them.
So where's the next step of progression that you see? Maybe in yourself, but as a total offensive unit, what's that next jump where you have to get better?
Limit the turnovers.
So did you have more fumbles or interceptions or kind of a combination?
Just a combination of both.
So on the interceptions, was it and I'm not putting you on the table here or anything like that, was it a poor read? Or was it somebody was not there that was supposed to be there? Not that you're pointing blame or anything like that.
They were just poor reads.
Just poor reads. You saw what you thought you saw, but it wasn't really what it was going to be.
Yep.
All right. So what have you done in practice to kind of alleviate that and say, well, this is what I'm seeing now?
Try to calm myself down more, and if I don't see something, then don't try and force it.
Mm-hmm. And look at a second or a third option. Okay, very good. We're going to talk to Coach King. You're off this week. Is that good at this juncture, in your opinion, or sometimes when you're getting beat around, you just want to get back on the horse and play again? How do you feel about that?
I think it could be good for us because we have the rest of this week and all of next week to get ready for a game, and we could just go back to the fundamentals and learn from the start.
Great attitude, and keep hanging in there, and good things are going to happen, I'm sure of it.
Yep.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Aiden Rogers is up next. Hi, Aiden. How are you?
Good.
Good. You're a junior on the team. Positions that you're playing?
Offensive tackle and defensive end.
Okay. And you're out there the whole time. How do you feel from your conditioning standpoint after the second game? Was it a little easier than week 1?
Yeah. I wasn't as tired, but
That's got to be hard, though. You are limited, and I kind of sound like a broken record. None of you have ever made excuses about that. We are who we are kind of mentality. We dance with who we have, and you're not making excuses. But where was your biggest growth from week 1 to week 2 as far as you're concerned?
personally, I think I took a little step back in week 2.
How so?
I sustained less blocks. It was a little more rough of a game for me than week 1.
Mm-hmm. So, given that, I mean, that can go one of two ways. You can regress further, or you can say, I'm not going to do that again. And you have a week to think about it, over a week to think about it. Is it more technique, or is it more drive and want to at this point, as far as you're concerned?
More drive.
More drive, for sure. Let's
Yeah.
just get after it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sick of this happening. I'm going to turn it around.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Well, good luck to you. Grow from this week, and good things will come here real soon. Thanks for coming out. Finally, Wyatt Cheney is here. Hi, Wyatt. How are you?
Good.
Good. You're a junior as well. What side or what position you playing on each side of the ball?
Tackle on offense and tackle on defense.
Okay. Defensively, the points are going up pretty heavily, but what do you like about the group so far that you're out there with on the defensive side, where have you felt that things are starting to maybe come around a little bit, despite the fact that teams are scoring on you?
I think we're pretty aggressive, but we need to be more aggressive in practice just so we can play it on the field in games.
Offensively, you're still trying to find your identity, I think. Do you think you need to work more on the run blocking, pass blocking, or is it really just a combination and everything's got to get better?
Really run blocking. We need to get more upfield and push more.
Is that kind of is it a footwork thing, or is it just hitting your first block and then going to that second level? What is it more?
Just definitely hitting and pushing up, getting more.
Coaches talk about pad level all the time. Have your coaches talked to you about got to have lower pad level? You probably hear that over. Coach is laughing over here. He's saying, "Thanks a lot. I don't have to say it this time." So that's really just a desire too. That's part of technique. Do you think you and your offensive linemen are up for that challenge?
Yeah, we're up for that challenge.
Very good. Well, good luck to you. Make progress this week. You got some time. You got next week coming up. Make some progress and get ready for league action here coming up pretty soon. Thanks for coming out. I appreciate it. Final spot here tonight. We were brought to you in part by Lee Plymouth and Brad Seibert at the Plymouth Insurance Group, Gallion and Bucyrus. North Central State College, Mansfield, and the Crawford Success Center, North Walnut Street across from the courthouse in Bucyrus, and Phil and Shoe Shrek at Phil's Deli, just down the road from Pizza Hut here at the bridge here in Gallion. And back to the microphone we go with head coach Johnny Kane. And Coach, we've talked about for 3 weeks now that you are what you are from a number standpoint, but that can, in this world of COVID, have a monumental effect on what's going on, and unfortunately that's happened to you. We did know that as a school system, and I want to preface my comment here, there is nothing more important. High school sports are important to a lot of people. They're important to school, they're important to community. As I said, it's an extension of the classroom, but nothing trumps children's health, people's health. So I want to be very forthcoming in saying that. Yeah, it stinks that you're not going to be playing a game this weekend, but there's other things more important than that. And I just want to make that very clear. That being said, it's a missed opportunity for seniors. That's one game that they will never get back. But it's a tough situation. We learned about the school closing on Tuesday. You went to remote for the rest of this week until after the holiday break. And just put you guys in a tough spot. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, no, I reiterate what you said about our kids' safety is always at the forefront of any decisions that we make. And being both athletic director and head coach this year, spent some time talking to myself in my office, and then weighing with our building principal and superintendent, and making sure that we were all on the same page. It's unfortunately our district is dealing with some various outbreaks and the quarantine process with close contacts and things makes that pretty far-reaching. While our entire team was not quarantined or completely shut down, there were enough individuals that were affected by the situation, and then just kind of some other stuff going on. Like I said, we've got some guys that are in the acclimation process of coming out, and they may have been available by Friday night, but that would have been potentially the first time they've ever stepped on a football field, and it really came down to are we putting our kids in not just a position to be successful, but a safe position, frankly. Are we putting our kids in a position where they could potentially get themselves or somebody else injured and lost for the remainder of the season? And if there was any way for us to be able to play this game in a manner that we felt was still safe for our kids, then we certainly would be doing that. But it just, as things kind of kept coming across my phone or my email or my desk, it became increasingly clear that that was just not really going to be a realistic option this week.
You were supposed to have Plymouth come in, a team at 2-0 that won handily over Willard last week, and unfortunately they now have to scramble. And believe me, this is not centralized to Crestline High School. This is happening all over the state. All you have to do is get on social media, and you see all kinds of schools that are postponing. And what it becomes is really a giant house of cards. As one gets removed, the whole thing kind of falls apart, and you start trying to find another dance partner. Plymouth has found that in Salineville Southern. They're going to have to go to almost East Liverpool for that game. But really, it becomes a situation almost like the playoffs, where you start playing unfamiliar teams just to get a game in. What was their response when you called them and said, "Guys, we got to pull the plug on this"?
Yeah, I mean, they had kind of been checking in throughout the week as things had been unfolding with our school system, just sort of, where are you guys at? And to be honest, we've been up front with them that, we have every intention of playing this game at this moment. We are also, one or two situations away from that changing. And they were understanding of it's just the reality that we're all kind of living in right now. It would have been nice if, there had been a little bit more clarity, maybe an hour or two earlier, and maybe they'd been playing Ontario rather than having to head down to Eastern Ohio there.
Yeah, right.
But I'm glad that they were able to find a game to play. They've got a talented squad over there, and I'm sure they have no qualms about taking it on the road, and wish them the best of luck, and appreciative for their district being understanding. And it's just something that honestly, as an athletic director and a school administrator, we all recognize that this is just the reality that we're living in, and next week we may be the ones looking to scramble and find an opponent. You just never know what's coming. So everyone is trying to do what's in the best interest of our kids and our athletic programs, and there's just a lot of flexibility and grace this year.
Have you had the discussion with your wife and said, were you the one that talked me into going to administration and athletic director and get out of the classroom? Have you had that discussion yet? Or?
There have been plenty of discussions with not just my wife, but many, Are you regretting that decision yet, or that type of comments and whatnot? It's been an interesting fall already, that's for sure.
Kind of a be careful what you wish for kind of mentality.
Absolutely.
So the down week, you do have opportunities. You can still practice, right? And you're going to have a week off, and now you're looking forward to week 4 with Ridgemont, I believe it is, on the road. And a team that their numbers are up, and we'll talk about them next week. But through any adversity, there is some good that comes out of it. So in a short way, what is the good that comes out of this of not playing a game this week?
Yeah, for us this week, we're focusing on us and getting back to basics and establishing some of these fundamentals. As I said, we've got some new kids that have just gotten acclimated and are starting to be able to participate in full practices. It's really about just teaching the game of football to these guys. We're going to have some physical practices because we have been lacking that a bit in our Friday night performances, and that as much as our guys like to think, well, just flip the switch on Friday nights and stuff, it doesn't always work that way. So we were always kind of treading a fine line between keeping our kids healthy and safe during the week preparation, but we also need to take some advantages to kind of get after it in practice. And so, there are going to be periods of physical sort of challenging a little bit, especially our front linemen, and then it's going to be a lot of individual work and a lot of walkthrough stuff, and just making sure that everyone is kind of on the same page and understanding what their roles are.
Very good. Well, we'll talk next week. We won't talk about a game, but we'll talk about preparation, and looking forward to week 4. And I certainly appreciate you coming out and your open comments about this. It's a tough situation, but you, as in past years, you've never dodged any of that. You've come right out and discussed it, and so I certainly appreciate that.
Thanks for having us out, Mike. Appreciate
You
it.
bet. Coming up on the sports calendar for WQEL, it's Cleveland Indians baseball coming up tonight. They're on the road at Kansas City. Coverage begins at 7:35. Tomorrow, thank goodness, college football is back, and the Ohio State Buckeyes will be in Minneapolis to take on the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Coverage begins at 6:30, kickoff right after 8 o'clock. On Friday evening, it'll be Cameron Moon and the opening drive at 6:30. Be sure to tune into that as you get ready to go to a game. We have a couple games on the radio on WQEL. The game of the week, it'll be Cardington at Colonel Crawford, and on WBCO, Northmore at Bucyrus. Davy Jones and the Friday night phone board right after our game of the week on WQEL, right around 9 o'clock. Saturday, we have Cleveland Indians baseball at Fenway Park against the Boston Red Sox, coverage at 3:35. And Sunday, they will wrap up that series at Boston at 12:35 against the Boston Red Sox. I want to thank everybody here at our Galleon Pizza Hut, especially our manager tonight, Michelle Burris. Aniana, our beautiful server tonight, taking care of our people back here. Thanks so much. You want to say hi to the camera? Aniana did a fantastic job tonight. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. Thank you to Danny Lane back in the studio. Thank you to my camera operator, Cam Moon, and Harper Boggs doing all of the administrative things that make this show possible. And thank you to Galleon football coach Matt Dick and his players, Colonel Crawford football coach Ryan Teglovic and his players, and Crestline football coach Johnny King and his players as well. Thank you to our sponsors, most of all, our listeners, for being part of the Facebook Live this evening. And for WQAL Sports, this has been Mike Sparks reminding you, spirit with a vision is a dream with a mission. Have a good night, everybody.